CNN said Sunday that the White House has told reporter Jim Acosta he'll find himself shut out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue again when a federal judge's 2-week order restoring his press credentials expires. The West Wing also moved quickly to begin establishing what the president called formal rules and regulations for conduct, reacting to federal Judge Timothy Kelly's ruling that the White House violated Acosta's Fifth Amendment rights when it yanked his press pass on November 7. Kelly's objection was that Acosta had no opportunity to defend himself, something that a constitutionally guaranteed due processes would have provided him. White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Communications Bill Shine and Press Secretary Sarah Sanders wrote to Acosta on Friday night, hours after he returned to the building with his hard pass restored, to explain why it had acted 9 days earlier. Acosta, they wrote, had violated the basic standards of press conferences by refusing to yield the floor and the microphone when President Donald Trump told him his time asking questions was over. Designing a completely new framework for the White House press corps to operate in could, however, put reporters in a box they're not used to. Trump threatened Sunday in a Fox News Channel interview that he might put restrictions on the number and location of video cameras in press conferences so journalists' faces won't be shown in broadcasts. He said the White House could maybe turn the camera off that faces them, because then they don't have any airtime, although I'll probably be sued for that and maybe, win or lose it, who knows? I mean, with this stuff you never know what's going to happen. Video cameras in presidential press conferences held in the East Room and the Rose Garden are ad hoc affairs, with camera positions that could be limited or changed on the fly. The White House briefing room, however, includes a fixed bank of network TV cameras on one side. Their purpose is to capture reporters asking their questions so network broadcast editors can put their journalists on screen. Getting rid of those cameras would leave a daily gaping hole, but one that would be less noticed since Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders has held few briefings in recent months. The networks control the TV cameras through a standing arrangement between the White House and the White House Correspondents Association. But like most media procedures at the White House, the rules are unwritten. The administration could limit the number of camera locations. Share this article. Share it. 13 shares. CNN said in a statement Sunday that the Trump administration's continuing attempts to keep Acosta away from the White House threaten all journalists and news organizations. Jim Acosta and CNN will continue to report the news about the White House and the president. The network plans to ask Judge Kelly for a less temporary injunction against the White House once his restraining order runs its course. Acosta returned to the White House on Friday after Kelly's ruling, mobbed by his peers. Fox News anchor Chris Wallace asked the president why he calls on Acosta, with whom the president has had a contentious relationship with. "Why did you call on Acosta in the first place? I mean, it seems to me there's a simple solution here, just don't call on him," Wallace said. "Actually, I like to do it, but in many cases I don't. He'll stand up. He's unbelievably rude to Sarah Huckabee, who's a wonderful woman, unbelievably rude, and I see that, and I actually asked her the same. Why do you call on these people that are so nasty?" Trump said. The president also defended his attacks on the fake media. "I don't mind getting bad news if I'm wrong. If I do something wrong," he said. But Wallace pressed him, the president doesn't get to decide what's fair and what's not. I can tell what's fair and not, and so can my people, and so can a lot of other people," the president responded. The president ratcheted up his contentious relationship with the media by revoking Acosta's pass. After telling Trump during a contentious news conference that he wanted to challenge him about his border policy, Acosta argued with him and remained standing with a White House microphone when the president told him his time was up. Acosta also refused to surrender the microphone to a bewildered female intern. Trump warned he would have Acosta rejected from future press conferences if he misbehaves. And he said he reserved the right to abruptly end Q&A events with reporters if Acosta gets on his nerves. On Friday, the president called federal Judge Timothy Kelly's ruling not a big deal. Kelly's decision rebuked the White House for arbitrarily ousting Acosta from the building without giving him a constitutionally guaranteed due processes to defend himself. What they said, though, is that we have to create rules and regulations for conduct, etc. Trump said in his Fox interview, "We're doing that. We're going to write them up right now. It's not a big deal, and if he misbehaves we'll throw him out or we'll stop the news conference." Having written rules and procedures would satisfy Acosta's Fifth Amendment rights, Kelly said Friday, but CNN's federal lawsuit would remain to challenge Trump on First Amendment freedom of the press grounds. Trump predicted he will ultimately win once it can be shown that there are bright lines that reporters know they can't cross. "We're setting up a certain standard, which is what the court is requesting," he said, adding that with the rules and regulations, we will end up back in court, and we will win. Acosta returned to the White House a few hours later, mobbed by photographers and wearing his hard pass, the same one taken from him last Wednesday by a uniformed Secret Service officer who stopped him at the Pennsylvania Avenue gate. "I want to thank all of my colleagues in the press who supported us this week," he said outside the federal courthouse in Washington. "And I want to thank the judge for the decision he made today. And let's go back to work." While Kelly ordered the White House to let Acosta back in the building, he said Trump and his spokespeople aren't obligated to call on him during press conferences or let him ask questions. He said the White House isn't under any obligation to host reporters at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, but it also can't play favorites once the doors are open.